off to a great start, sitting at 3-0.
And this is a nice introduction to Legacy if you're not new to the format. It's very easy to look at a list like Ad Nauseam, this combo deck, and look at a deck squaring off against a deck that has Thoughtseize, Force of Will, and just assume the Ad Nauseam deck has no shot in the matchup. This is actually light on the amount of hate required, at least game one, in my opinion, to have a good matchup against Storm. Between discard spells and speed and redundancy, Ad Nauseam can easily beat a couple discard spells and a counter spell.
Yeah, Bryant's going with what I believe is the kind of the regular take for him, deemed kind of the epic Storm. That's what he's playing here. He's got Burning Wishes in his main deck, 4 of them. No kill in the main deck outside of Empty the Warren, so his plan is to Burning Wish 4 Tendrils and kill you that way. So that's what he's going to try to do here as he starts by sacrificing a Scalding Tarn. He's down to 19, and we are underway here in round number 4 of 8 in Syracuse.
And Charlotte's Agent is a big cost in this kind of matchup, not necessarily because of the cards in the deck, but because of the cards that Lloyd cannot play. You don't want to cascade into counter spells for obvious reasons. So things like Spell Pierce, Counter Spell, Daze, etc., not cards that Lloyd can play with, and so he's very light on disruption.
This is a duress. You're going to see a hand of 2 Brainstorms, a Tarmogoyf, and a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Better than all. Brainstorm is going to bite the dust, as Cook does record the information before passing the turn back over to Kurth. You can see on Kurth's board, he does have an Underground Sea, along with a copy of Deathrite Shaman, one of the most powerful cards here in Legacy.
It appears as though Lloyd has picked up Hymn to Torak this turn. There's 1 copy in his main deck, and that's pretty much the best card he can draw at this juncture to slow down Bryant's development.
Timely. Certainly timely here, as Bryant will lay out those 6 cards. We'll do a little bit of rolling of the dice. 6 will be a re-roll, I imagine. And that'll be a 3. So Cook is going to lose 2 cards. A Cabal Therapy and a Rite of Flame do go to the graveyard for Bryant. Bryant will draw a card. Knows what Kurth drew last turn, which was the Hymn. So we'll see if he can actually get working here, since he doesn't have to worry about a card like Force of Will. Looks like he will just cast a Ponder.
So Storm is a critical mass deck. It's not like Sneak and Show, where you need A plus B and you win the game. It's about having a density of rituals and draw effects. So cards like Hymn to Torak are very effective forms of disruption, almost no matter what Lloyd gets out of Bryant's hand, because it prevents Bryant from building up the critical mass of cards required to go off.
Bryant looking at a Lotus Petal and a Lion's Eye Diamond right now. Burning Wish, you also see he's just going to pass the turn back over to Kurth. Kurth's going to untap, take a draw here, picks up a copy of Bayou, and he will play a Brainstorm right away. So 3 cards coming for Lloyd. 1 is a Thoughtseize, 2 is a Brainstorm, and 3 is a Jace the Mind Sculptor. So he'll have to put 2 of those back before he does move forward. One thing to note here, there's no fetch land here, so he's going to be a little Brainstorm locked.
Yeah, can't shuffle his deck, so he's stuck with his next 2 draw steps being informed. 2 copies of Jace not providing much help here when he's light on mana, but picking up a Thoughtseize here is excellent for Lloyd.
So we'll take a look at Brian Cook's hand. You're going to see a Burning Wish along with that Lion's Eye Diamond, a Lotus Petal, and a fetch land. I imagine Lloyd's going to take the Burning Wish here. No guarantee, of course, but he will record the information before he does make his decision.
Yeah, it's tough to cut Brian off of mana with this hand because he has lands and redundant artifact mana. So it makes the most sense, in my opinion, to take his 1 piece of business, which is the Burning Wish. The Lion's Eye Diamond does enable all sorts of sequences from Brian's deck as well.
Yeah, LED is a pretty scary card. I think those are the choices between LED and Burning Wish. And Kurth is certainly going to take some time here to figure out exactly what the right card is to take.
Now, something that has to be a bit of a worry for Lloyd here is he's not generating very much pressure. Now, next turn, he has the opportunity to cast Tarmogoyf, but he can't just sit back on this disruption all day. He eventually has to get something proactive going, because with enough time, Brian's going to be able to weather the storm and rebuild from these initial discard spells.
And it's going to be a Burning Wish that goes to the bin. Kurth looking at a Tarmogoyf in his hand, going to attack here for 1. Just pass the turn back. Cook draws a card. It's another copy of Ponder. He's going to start by playing a Misty, as he knew the next card he was going to see, so he wants to get a fresh look at things. One thing I do love about watching Cook play, outside of being just a master with Storm, is his deck is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the deck that Brian's playing here, I assume has, you know, a 5-figure street value.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Assembling this thing must have been a labor of love.
So now here is your Ponder. So 3 cards to look at here for Cook. Don't get a great look at him. He's kind of hiding, and there's a Dark Ritual among them. And we'll see if he's happy with what he's found. He shuffles relatively quickly, so a mystery card coming.
Yeah, at this point, Bryant just looking for a big piece of action. Infernal Tutor, most notably. Mana is not going to be the issue. It's going to find an action card in time. And he is going to have a fair bit of it. Keep in mind, Lloyd Brainstorm locked. Really, with only Deathrite Shaman and Tarmogoyf he can cast next turn as pressure. Some dead draws coming because of the Jace the Mind Sculptors.
Gitaxian Probe gives Cook a good look at Kurth's hand. You see the Jace and the Tarmogoyf there. Cook's draw off of the Gitaxian Probe was a copy of Burning Wish. So we'll take a look at the graveyard here, see if he can get anything going or not. He's going to play Lotus Petal. Here's the Lion's Eye Diamond, so he's going to get moving right now. He's going to cast a Burning Wish. With that on the stack, he breaks the Lion's Eye Diamond. Still add some mana. Did cast a couple of spells a turn. We could see an Empty the Warrens here. That's exactly what we are going to see. So there's going to be a lot of Goblin tokens. You count the Wish, the Petal, the Lion's Eye Diamond, the Probe, the Ponder. That's pretty easy. 12 Goblins right there.
Yep.
So here they come. A whole bunch of them. And he's going to flashback a Cabal Therapy right now and take the Tarmogoyf. I like that play as well. So Kurth is going to untap her. He's going to take a draw.
Some creature synergies coming out of Bryant's deck. Unexpected.
Oh, come on. We see this all the time in Storm, don't we? Or maybe that's not true. Here's a Brainstorm. Seen Abrupt Decay, among other things here. And Lloyd Kurth says, you know what? That's good enough for me. I don't find anything that I need. He did actually have an out in that situation. He has a Toxic Deluge in his deck.
Yeah, but he was Brainstorm locked there. He found no way to shuffle, so writing's on the wall there. He's going to die in 2 attacks.
And so Bryant Cook does win game number 1 here over Lloyd Kurth. Ad Nauseam Tendrils. The Storm deck does win game number 1 over Charlotte's Bugs. We take a look at the sideboards here. We will start with Lloyd's deck, as he will be on the play for game number 2. He's got 2 copies of Nile Spellbomb, a Null Rod, 2 copies of Disfigure, 2 Flusterstorm, a Force of Will, 2 copies of Golgari Charm, a Liliana of the Veil, 2 Hymn to Torak, 1 Thoughtseize, 1 Toxic Deluge. Actually got a lot of options here.
Yeah, I like bringing in the additional counter spells here with the 2 copies of Flusterstorm. I think Null Rod is reasonable here. Nile Spellbomb isn't even that bad because sometimes Bryant has to go off through Past in Flames, so Nile Spellbomb is a piece of disruption there. The Thoughtseize, the 2 Hymns, the Liliana of the Veil, the additional Force Will. There's a lot to like for him to bring in this matchup. Gets to cut a lot of his creature removal that doesn't do a lot here. May want to get away from Charlotte's Agent altogether because he's bringing in some counter spells, and it's a little slow to the table to begin with. Maybe Ancestral Visions is too slow for the matchup, but he has a lot of good options to bring in here.
Yeah, trying to get the value of the Ancestral Visions in this matchup seems kind of hopeless. You don't have time to set that stuff up.
It feels like something you can do in games you're already winning.
Yeah. On Cook's side, what do you see? I imagine a lot of Wish targets.
Yeah, because of Burning Wish, a lot of his sideboard slots are spoken for here. Past in Flames, a Tendrils Agony, an Empty the Warrens, a Grave Shot, an Infernal Tutor, a Thoughtseize, and a Void Snare, a new addition from M15. That's pretty cool. As far as cards he can actually sideboard in, 2 Chain of Vapor, 2 Pithy Needle, 2 Xantid Swarm, 2 Abrupt Decay. Because Lloyd has a mixture of discard and counter spells, I don't know if any of his disruption really works here. He may want to bring in a couple of copies of Abrupt Decay just to slow down Lloyd's clock, you know, take care of a Tarmogoyf, take care of a Deathrite Shaman, what have you. But I think it's pretty reasonable for Bryant just to present the same 60 cards he showed in game 1. Not a lot to like in the sideboard here to bring in, though I think Abrupt Decay is reasonable.
I feel like the matchup is pretty favorable for Bryant. I mean, especially game 1.
Yeah.
I think it's very good. I mean, you know, Lloyd doesn't have a lot of help game 1. He actually drew a Singleton, Hymn to Torak, and a Thoughtseize, and lost in pretty short order.
Yeah, that's a very good clinic on the power of a deck like Ad Nauseam in Legacy. Lloyd's draw was not bad. I mean, there's about as much disruption as he can realistically ask for from a game 1 scenario with his deck, and still died very, very early in the game.
Well, while these 2 players do shuffle up, one place that you can play Legacy if you like to is SCG Game Night, and it is coming in September.
Yeah, August 11th is the deadline for signups, so make sure to take care of it if you want to be participating in September. Also, international signups are now available as well. So this will be held at all stores that sign up. 2 pins and 8 foil tokens each week, new pins and foils each month. What you see on the screen right now, that's the September design. Every Wednesday night, starting in September. StarCityGames.com/game night for more information. This is supposed to be a little more casual focus, sanctioned, unsanctioned. Formats are optional. Just get some players into your store, playing every Wednesday night.
Because we want players to be walking away with those squirrels. That's what we want. That's probably what you guys want as well. Looking forward to kind of coming back to the grassroots.
Yeah.
Getting some more organized play on more days. It doesn't have to be hyper competitive like our IQs are. You guys can have some fun, play some Magic, and get some pretty sweet prizes.
Yeah, Magic is so popular right now that FNM plus events on the weekends is not enough to satisfy the demands of the player base at large. More participation, more tournaments, more organized play, always good. And to that end, Star City Games introducing Wednesday game night starting in September. Again, August 11th, the deadline for signups if you're trying to participate in September. So if you're a store or a tournament organizer hearing this, if you're a player that wants to bring this to your store, get on the line now if you want to make that September cutoff.
We're looking forward to it. We hope you guys are too, coming in September. As we turn our attention back to the match, both players going to take a look at their opening hands here. Again, Lloyd Kurth, Star City Games Legacy Open champion in Baltimore just a couple weeks ago. He's down a game right now with his Charlotte's Bug deck, very reminiscent of what he actually did win that tournament in Baltimore with. He did it with Charlotte's Bug. I imagine there are a few cosmetic changes here as Cook is going to take a mulligan. Again, game one, very tough for Kurth, but after sideboard, the ability to bring in more discard, just more disruption.
Yeah, and also noteworthy about this, because Bryant's deck is a critical mass combo deck, it makes mulligans very bad for him. Sneak and Show, because it's only looking to slap together 2 cards, can mulligan pretty aggressively, but Ad Nauseam needs a density of cards to do its thing. So very challenging for it to mulligan, especially in post-board games where you're going to be playing against more Thoughtseizes, more Duresses, more counter spells, and so on.
Brian going to give it a thumbs up. He's going to be targeted by a Thoughtseize. Take a look at this opener. There's a Lion's Eye Diamond, a Gataxian Probe, an Ad Nauseam, a Burning Wish, a Scalding Tarn, and a Gemstone Mine that Kurth gets to select from. Does go down to 17 to do so, but I'm sure he doesn't mind too much about that. The big question here is, what do you select if you're Lloyd?
Also, something to keep in mind here, there's only one Ad Nauseam naturally in the deck list here, which means that this gets selected, that cuts off one of Bryant's primary avenues.
The big question, of course, is does Kurth know that? If you're familiar with Cook, he's been playing the same version of Storm for some time now.
Yeah, seeing a second Ad Nauseam is incredibly rare in these lists because turning over 5-mana spells when you're playing with Ad Nauseam is so bad, especially one that doesn't provide anything the turn that you're going off.
We can't forget it as well. Cook did make the top 8 early this morning.
Yeah.
You know, he was playing the elimination rounds in our standard tournament, as his Ad Nauseam does go to the graveyard. So he's looking for a little back-to-back action today, and he's off to a great start. Yeah,
we didn't get to feature him during the elimination rounds, but he was a top 8 competitor in the Standard Open this weekend.
Played Blue-Eye Control, much like what Flock won the Pro Tour with. Did add an Aetherling so he could finish in time, but that strategy was quite good for him. As here's a Gataxian Probe from Cook to Kurth. He will see a Force of Will, Liliana, a Null Rod, along with a Tropical Island and a Pluto Delta. Null Rod looking very good against Cook's hand.
Yeah, it may appear a little bit narrow on the surface because he's not playing, you know, that artifact dense of a deck, but being able to shut down Lion's Eye Diamond especially is another, you know, cutting off another avenue of attack for Bryant.
And that freshly drawn Lotus Petal as well.
Yeah. It's a problematic card.
It'll definitely change the way he has to play the game. Looks like Cook is going to start by casting a Ponder here. He's going to get a Scald. He's going to use a Scalding Tarn, go get a land, but he did draw a Ponder, so I think we're going to see him fire one of those off. He's just deciding what land to go get, and it looks like it's going to be an Underground Sea.
And it's possible Brian needs to be very aggressive this turn. Even if he needs to ponder, if he finds a discard spell, he may even have to crack the Lotus Petal to get that Null Rod out of the hand, because the way his hand is constructed right now, it's leaning very heavily on Lotus Petal and Lion's Eye Diamond. It's not clear, especially with Ad Nauseam now in the graveyard, if he has the capability of beating a Null Rod this game.
So it is a Ponder. He's looking at a Tropical Island among those cards. And we'll see in just a moment what Cook decides to do, with this Ponder.
Now keep in mind, Bryant may have sided in some of his Abrupt Decays. And if that's the case, then he has to care much less about these Null Rods. But there's also an argument for him keeping his deck basically constructed as was game one, in which case this Null Rod represents all sorts of trouble.
And that wouldn't surprise me at all if he kept the same configuration game one.
Yeah,
no, Abrupt Decay is not a bad hedge card.
Yeah, it depends just how many flex slots you feel that you have. Because it's not like Lloyd's bringing something like Aethersworn Canonists or Thalia to the table that Brian can't win through. It's basically just, do you want to blow up Tarmogoyf or not?
Interesting draw here for Kurth. He drew a copy of Wasteland. I think he may have considered Wastelanding for a moment there, but decided, you know what, I'm probably better off playing Null Rod, because Null Rod probably shuts off my opponent's chance to kill me right away. Now we're going to cast a Burning Wish. And Cook's going to go to the sideboard. We're going to see what he finds.
So he does have a Void Snare in his sideboard. Again, a new hit from M15.
But he's going to go the Empty the Warrens route. He's not messing around.
Sure.
Void Snare is that sorcerer speed, bounce a permanent, something you can find with Burning Wish. Whew, but Kurth, right back in Bryant's face, draws a copy of Golgari Charm. So now the Goblins are covered, as they typically are in Legacy.
Yeah. This is really bad news for Bryant. He had found a line of play that would probably allow him to make somewhere around 10 or 12 Goblins next turn, which might have been good enough, but it's going to be really hard for him to beat Golgari Charm this game. It's going to require nearly all of his resources to empty, and especially against a Null Rod here, not clear he can recover if something happens to all of his Goblins.
Now, what gets really interesting to me here is Kurth is going to sacrifice Blue to Delta, go get a Bayou, and looks like he's going to cast Liliana, is how well can Kurth kind of lead Bryant into this?
Yeah.
You know, how can he get maximum value, as there is Liliana the Veil? It's going to take up, both players will discard here.
And I really like playing Liliana and plussing here. Because of the threat of Liliana just plussing every turn, it basically forces Bryant's hand right now.
Yep.
He's just going to fire off this empty for as much as he possibly can. Well, maybe not now that he's seeing the Golgari Charm through this Gitaxian Probe, but Lloyd set this up very nicely. By playing Liliana, he makes a compelling case here for Bryant to just empty for as much as possible, and then Golgari Charm is a game winner.
It's almost like Gitaxian Probe getting information is pretty useful.
Yeah, it's almost like, well, it also is a free spell for the Storm count and, you know, a million other things.
Gonna just pass the turn back over to Kurth. Kurth will draw cards, copy of Brainstorm. Can't be too unhappy with that, and that's exactly where he's gonna start things off so he can make some informed decisions as well as what he wants to discard. Gonna do it with the Tropical Island there. You see Brainstorm, Forcible, and Creeping Tar Pit are the cards that are drawn there from Kurth, so he'll have to put 2 of those back. We'll see how he wants to move forward after that.
And Creeping Tar Pit might be the most important card of the bunch here because Lloyd needs to start attacking sooner rather than later. Cannot wait here all day long, even with a Liliana plussing.
So 2 cards do go back. Liliana is going to go up. Looks like it looks like he's going to get rid of Force of Will. This is actually pretty interesting too, because now a land's going to come down, I believe. Yeah, he's going to use the Wasteland. His last card in hand is actually just Brainstorm. So if you're Cook, you might be thinking, oh, okay. Well, the last card might be Charm, but it's not. It's a Brainstorm. He gets to get a good look at it too.
Yeah, that's a great play by Lloyd there. Able to hide the Golgari Charm. Bryant actually drew Duress this turn.
Kurth going to draw cards, Creeping Tar Pit. Now here's a Brainstorm again. Again, I allow him to make informed decisions on what to discard with Liliana. He's going to Abrupt Decay, an Underground Sea, and that Charm is what Brainstorm has found. Creeping Tar Pit also in those cards. You see Kurth just consistently hiding the cards that matter right now. Going to take Liliana up. Going to lose the Underground Sea. Lotus Petal is what Cook's going to discard. There's a Creeping Tar Pit. So now Kurth has found his clock. Cook draws a card. Going to play a Scalding Tarn, we think.
It's sort of an awkward spot that Lloyd's in right now because he doesn't want to continue to plus the Liliana if Golgari Charms the card in his hand, because that's an incredible insurance policy.
Yeah.
But he also wants to continue to plus the Liliana because keeping Bryant off of a density of spells here is critical too. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if actually the way that Kurth at the top of his deck is Abrupt Decay first, then Charm second, so that he can just draw the Abrupt Decay and just discard it and keep, you know, rocking and rolling here with Liliana. We'll see what he draws, though. Didn't get a great look. Tar Pit's going to come in for 3, though. Now we're going to start working on Bryant's life total, says Kurth. So Cook goes down to 12. And it's very telling, of course. If Kurth doesn't activate Liliana, as far as going up goes, that means he has Charm in his hand.
Or something of significance, yeah. Most likely the Charm.
There is a Volcanic Island to go along with a sea and a Trop there for Cook.
So Bryant can take the Golgari Charm with the Duress and start to break out of this a little bit, but it's still going to be hard.
I think Cook may have drawn a copy of Pithing Needle. I'm not sure.
Yep, there are 2 copies in his sideboard.
All right, here's a Ritual. This might be a Duress.
3, 4, 5. So he can choose between either needling or duressing, but not both.
Yeah, he got the charm. 3 and 4. This isn't the most impressive Empty the Warrens we've ever seen, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So 6 Goblin tokens are going to come into play. You saw Duress, the Dark Ritual, and then the Empty. So we will get 6 Goblins out there for you.
There you are, back in the limelight.
I'm live for now. I'm not feeling particularly great about it, though.
Yeah. Not as many of you as there was in the first game, unfortunately.
True, even though I was out there only briefly. Now, Kurth could really work away with these Goblins. Or, he could sacrifice. He can make Liliana go down, sacrifice 1. Looks like he's going to go ultimating, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, he has the option. He can also ultimate and just also split Lance creatures,
Lance
right?
Goblins, yeah, that's what I was thinking, too.
He can even leave the Creeping Tar Pit back on defense if he finds just another blocker. He's not going to die. Because right now, as things are constructed, would be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 damage, which is 9, 12, 2, 1.
Interesting split here. Gonna take care of 3 of them.
Yeah, that's also not bad.
Yeah. Also, I actually kind of like this because it also kind of gives me an advantage as far as the clock is concerned. He can keep attacking. Now here's a needle on the Tar Pit, but Kurth has an Abrupt Decay.
Yeah,
which we know.
Got that covered.
So that's not going to be the end all. Kurth draws a card to copy a Deathrite Shaman, so that's going to get killed. That's going to come down. As usual, Deathrite Shaman having 2 toughness, putting a cramp in all Goblin style.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for Bryant to win the race at this point. Even with no creatures in the graveyard for Lloyd to remove with Deathrite Shaman, just because a 1/2 blocker here means so much.
It's too tough to get through. Cook looks like he may cast the Burning Wish that he's drawn this turn. He will. So he's going to go to the box. He's also going to check his graveyard really quickly here just to make sure he can make as informed decision as he can. So let's see what Cook's going to go for. See, there's a Thoughtseize hanging out over there. Infernal Tutor, Grape Shot on Tendrils and Past in Flames. Looks like he may be considering Grape Shot. That's a card that can take care of the Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, but even as things are constituted, he can't beat the Creeping Tar Pit in a race.
No,
so
not at all.
He needs more help than that.
Cook is just going to pass the turn back over to Kurth. Kurth will draw a card. Did not get a great look at that draw. He's going to come in with the Tar Pit. Cook's going to go down to 5. Going to activate Deathrite Shaman. I think he's going to play another Deathrite Shaman. And this game just got a whole lot harder. And it was already pretty tough.
Yeah.
Another needle is the draw. That's somewhat interesting. I guess the question now, though, is which one do you name?
I think what he can do here is needle the Tar Pit because he can't stop it with the Grape Shot. And then the next turn, if he draws extremely well, for example, if he brainstorms into, there's probably a mixture of things he can brainstorm into, which would allow him to kill both the Deathrite Shamans with this Grape Shot. So it's some long odds, but not impossible.
Yeah, it's only getting tougher.
Never mind.
Yeah. There's Tarmogoyf. Cook going to draw a card, and he's going to pick up his permanents. Lloyd Kurth is going to win the game number 2, and we are headed to game number 3 here between Shardless Bug and Ad Nauseam Tendrils.
So we know that Bryant brought in the 2 copies of Pithy Needle, obviously. Makes a lot of sense. Fight over Liliana, Deathrite Shaman, or a variety of other cards, but Lloyd able to power through it mostly through Creeping Tar Pit.
Game number 3 will be underway here shortly. We'll see if either player does change the way that they do want to sideboard here. Again, Cook doesn't really have a lot of options because he's a Burning Wish sideboard, but we did see, Pithy Needle come in, 2 of those. I imagine there are some Abrupt Decays in his deck as well. Yeah,
he's looking at him right now. I don't know if maybe Bryant only brought in the needles. Maybe the presence of Null Rod will be the tipping point where Abrupt Decay comes in as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And again, Kurth has a lot of cards to sideboard in here. Null Rod was quite good. Flusterstorms are obviously good against Storm decks. You've got Force of Will, Thoughtseize, Hinmatorak, Liliana the Veil played a role there. the Golgari Charms as well. So a lot of options here for Lloyd. And we will be underway in Game 3 in just a moment for you guys at home. But before we do want to talk about our premier IQs here on the Open Series circuit. We got a Modern one going on right now.
Yep, they're every Sunday on the Open Series, 10 a.m. start times, Modern, $5,000 in cash prizes, open points to all participants, with the top 4 receiving invites to the Invitational. You can also run these events at your store or as a tournament organizer at your location of choice. You can apply for these things the same way that you apply for IQs currently. We have already run some outside of the Open Series and continue to have them lined up throughout the rest of 2014. You can see here on the list here, Tampa, Florida, Tacoma, Washington, Knoxville, Tennessee, Denver, Colorado, and Roseville, Minnesota. So if you're interested in applying for these, head over to the organized play area at StarCityGames.com. We'll get you set up with these. But again, on the Open Series, every Sunday, 10 a.m. start time, and will always be the Modern format.
Been fun watching these take place already. You know, we've had 3 of these. This will be our 4th one here. And I'm not actually sure about the turnout here for this particular Modern IQ. I do want to find that out for you guys at home. But they have been going really, really well. And of course, when we do figure out exactly what wins that, we'll certainly let you know. Again, the Overgrown Tomb decks have really been getting it done. Lyripod in the first one, and then back-to-back for kind of the black-green mid-range / rock deck.
Yeah.
So pretty cool stuff there as both players will draw their opening hands here for game number 3. Cook will be on the play with his Storm deck as Kurth does send it back very, very quickly.
It's very cool to have the IQs exist as a way of consistent Modern content, because Modern, you know, it's not a Pro Tour format anymore, at least for next year. It's a PTQ format, you know, once a year roughly, and maybe twice a year. I don't know exactly what the announcement is there. Some random Grand Prix here and there, Magic Online results, etc. Not a lot of churn on the format. So having these Modern IQs, having a consistent source of large Modern tournaments will do a lot, I think, to inform what the metagame looks like, give people new opportunities to build new decks. It'll be cool. I think it'll be really good for the format to have tournaments that are large and consistent.
Yeah, I think so too. And Modern is easily my favorite format in Magic now. So it's pretty sweet that, you know, on the off chance that maybe I do get a weekend off to play in an Open Series, I have the option to do that as well.
I find that I like all formats in small doses.
I'm not a small dose kind of guy. Gitaxian Probe. Gonna start things off here in game number 3. We've got a Delta, a Verdant Catacombs, a Deathrite Shaman, a Force of Will, Liliana the Veil, and a Golgari Charm. So this hand for Kurth allows him to play Liliana on turn 2.
Yeah, but he might die on turn 1, something that's ad nauseum is fully capable of.
Absolutely.
And he has no protection here from a turn 1 kill, so we'll see how good the hand is.
Looks like they're just gonna go Cantrippin, Tropical Island into a Ponder. And we have been told that the final count for Modern is 147 players, so
yep,
a nice turnout.
They've all broken 3 figures so far, which is great.
Yeah. Kurth gonna draw cards, copy of Misty Rainforest.
Importantly, not a blue card. So again, shields are down. Now Bryant might respect the possibility of a blue card having been drawn, but
here's a Brainstorm. So that will resolve. 3 cards coming here for the Storm player.
And there is a lot of mana in that hand. Rituals, Petals, a Lion's Eye Diamond. It's an interesting Brainstorm. It doesn't look, by the looks of things, what he's putting back right now, Bryant does not have a hand that can kill this turn. He's shuffling away some mana.
Yeah. Gonna sacrifice the Misty. Go down to 17. There's no Underground Sea.
So it would not surprise me if this turn is a duress effect from Bryant and then an attempt to kill the following turn.
So the Ponder for now. 2 and 3. A quick shuffle. Did not like what he saw off that Ponder at all.
But Bryant does have to get the ball moving pretty soon here. I mean, Liliana eats away at things pretty fast. Also don't want to risk Lloyd finding a blue card to pair with that Force of Will.
It's another land here for Kurth. He's going to sacrifice his Verdant Catacombs. Go down to 18. There's a Bayou. I imagine we're going to see a turn 2 Liliana.
Yep.
Start to get to work on this hand. Seems to make the most sense.
For sure. Surprised sometimes these decks only play 2. Once you have 4 Deathrite Shamans, it feels like this is the thing you're supposed to be trying to do.
Looks like the Lotus Petal's going to go to the bin. There goes Swamp for Kurth. Pass the turn back. Cook draws a card.
Now, if Cook has been paying attention, he knows that was one of the draw steps that Lloyd had, was that Swamp.
Since he has the information from the first turn. The other card that Lloyd has drawn in this game is the Misty Rainforest, which he has not displayed yet. See an Infernal Tutor and a Burning Wish there in Cook's hand. Another Brainstorm too. It looks like he maybe put that Brainstorm back. You can also see a Ponder over there. It's a Dark Ritual and LED. I'm not sure if he's got the green light on. He's certainly trying to figure it out right now.
Yeah. And again, he has to move a little bit sooner rather than later here because of Liliana.
It's a Duress. This will clear the path. See Forceful, Charm, and a Misty. Yeah, you have to imagine he's going to take the Force.
This leaves Kurth very short. I mean, he's leaning on this draw step to give him something.
Yep. A card like him and Torak would be big right now for Lloyd.
Him would be huge. Even Wasteland.
Let's see what Lloyd draws. A Deathrite Shaman. One of the few times to be unhappy about that.
And Lloyd almost doesn't want to cast it here just to keep up the impression that he drew something of significance.
Yeah, it's almost like he's got to keep up appearances, right? But he is going to put that down.
I think ultimately he has to cast it, but it's not a card here that Lloyd really wants to draw.
It's a Dark Ritual, and this means it's go time. And Lloyd knows that. Here's the Lion's Eye Diamond. Storm count of 2, Infernal Tutor. Crack that on the stack. Storm count of 3. Cook has some mana floating. He'll go get Ad Nauseam. He will cast that, and we're going to go off to the races.
So the interaction there is Bryant casts Infernal Tutor. In response to the Infernal Tutor, with it still on the stack, sacrifices Lion's Eye Diamond for mana. This means that when the Infernal Tutor resolves, he's hellbent with mana floating his pool.
Now keep in mind, Cook has not played a land yet this turn. He is at a healthy 17, but he has no mana floating.
Yep.
So it's got to be a pretty good Ad Nauseam, but this deck is certainly capable of that. So we'll see what Cook is able to put together here.
And it's also effective 15 here because of an active Deathrite Shaman on Lloyd's side of the table.
This is true. And away we go. One from the Rite of Flame. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7. And he might stop here. As he takes a look at the graveyard, has to remember that he can lose something in the graveyard because of Deathrite.
Yeah.
Another Lotus Petal.
And these petals are huge because they allow Bryant to chain together rituals of various colors. For example, he can play the Volcanic, Rite of Flame, play a Petal, and Dark Ritual. He needs all this sort of stuff to generate sufficient mana.
That's going to be 11 damage now. He already had one of those. So he's at 6, and he will stop. So he will continue just to play those cards face up, as that is his hand. He plays his land for the turn, so now it's time for a Dark Ritual. He's got 3 black mana floating. He will cast an Infernal Tutor. Leaves him with 1 black mana floating. We'll see what he's going to go grab. It'll be another copy of Lion's Eye Diamond. Of course, revealing the Lion's Eye Diamond that he has in his hand.
Yeah.
Because he's not hellbent.
This allows him to play all this mana here. And if he wants to, can Infernal Tutor, or can play his Lion's Eye Diamonds, and then Infernal Tutor for Passing Flames with a boatload of mana.
Yep. And keep the party going then, too. So he plays a Lotus Petal, plays the other Lotus Petal, casts a Rite of Flame, then 2 Lion's Eye Diamond. His eye is going to play Infernal Tutor, and Lloyd says, I have seen enough. Bryant Cook is going to win this match over Lloyd Kurth. 2 games to 1, and Storm takes down Shardless Bug. Cook moves on to 4-0.
Yeah, that's a very good demonstration of the power level of this deck. Now, Lloyd didn't really do too much in Game 3 there, only cast Liliana the Veil, but you need a lot of disruption or a really quick clock or lockout pieces, things like Trinisphere, Chalice on 1, etc., to have a really good matchup against this deck.
Yeah, I thought that Lloyd kept a pretty good hand. You know, turn 1 Deathrite, turn 2 Lily.